What if a single experience could actually change your entire emotional world? Well, that's the powerful, powerful question right at the heart of psychedelic science. Today, we're going to take a look at the emotional architecture of the brain when it's under the influence of these really remarkable compounds, and we're drawing from a brand new review in the journal Trends in Cognitive Sciences.
So, you've definitely seen the headlines, you've probably heard the stories, but let's get real for a second. Can psychedelics truly rewire our emotions? That is the core question. In this explainer, we're going to move past all the hype and see what the science actually has to say. All right, so first up, let's look at the big promise, this idea of a psychedelic mood reset. This is what's driving so much of the incredible interest right now, especially when it comes to treating conditions like major depression. The central idea, the main hypothesis here, is that the therapeutic potential of these substances isn't just about having some kind of mystical experience. No, it's about how these compounds directly change the way our brains process our feelings. The researchers put it this way. Psychedelics seem to dynamically regulate emotional states. So what does that even mean? Well, it doesn't mean they just turn your feelings up or down. Instead, it's more like they make the brain more flexible, kind of breaking it out of those rigid negative loops and building up what you might call emotional agility. Okay, but it's not quite that simple. As we're about to see, when you really start to zoom in on the data, the picture gets, well, a little bit blurry. And here's the crucial point. When scientists actually put all the studies together, the results are all over the place. They're inconsistent. You'll see some trials showing this huge drop in negative feelings, but then others don't find that at all. Some report a big boost in positive mood, but again, it's not always the case. This inconsistency is a major hurdle that researchers are now working hard to figure out. A big reason for this might come down to something called emotional granularity. Think of it like the difference between a blurry, low-res photo and a stunning 4K image. The old way of looking at this used these really broad terms, like just positive mood. But the new view says, no, we need to get way more specific. For example, telling the difference between shame, which can be paralyzing, and guilt, which can actually motivate us to change, that is absolutely critical. Getting this high-res picture of our emotions is key. All right, let's build on that. It's not just about what emotions we feel, it's also about when we feel them. You see, the effects of these substances happen over a pretty specific timeline. And what happens during the trip itself? Well, that's really only the beginning of the story.
So the effects seem to unfold in three phases. First, you've got the acute phase. That's the trip. Then comes this really critical window, the post-acute phase. This is a time of emotional openness and vulnerability where good therapeutic support is absolutely key. And the ultimate question, of course, is whether all of this leads to the long-term phase, where lasting change can happen. The bottom line is, what happens in the moment doesn't always predict what happens a month later.
So the million-dollar question is, how does that long-term change actually happen? Well, the leading theory takes us deep into the very wiring of the brain itself.
It all comes down to this incredible concept called neuroplasticity. Basically, the brain's amazing ability to change and reorganize itself. You can think of it like this. Psychedelics might act like a catalyst, temporarily loosening up those rigid connections that keep us stuck in our old thought patterns, which then makes it easier to build new, healthier pathways in our brain.
But, and this is a big but, we really need to be cautious here. While neuroplasticity is the leading idea, most of the evidence we have right now is still preclinical. That means it comes from animal studies. And while those results are definitely promising, we still need a lot more research to really confirm these effects in humans. And that brings us to the final and, I think, most exciting part of all this. The big, unanswered questions that are now driving this entire field of science forward. First off, the dose. Is there some kind of Goldilocks zone for making these therapeutic changes? Scientists right now are trying to map out that complex relationship between how much you take and the emotional outcome, trying to find that perfect sweet spot between being effective and just being overwhelming.
Next up, what about the so-called bad trips? This is a fascinating and really complex question. Are these difficult experiences just something we should try to avoid? Or are they sometimes a necessary part of the process for people to have a real, lasting emotional breakthrough? The jury is still very much out on that one. And here's one you might not have thought about: music. In psychedelic therapy, music is a huge, huge part of the experience. But how does it actually work? How can we pick the right music to help guide someone's emotional journey and, more importantly, make those positive changes stick? It's a key area for future study. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, the therapeutic potential of psychedelics it's undeniable, but the science is still young. It's incredibly dynamic. We're really just beginning to move from that blurry, low-res picture to a high-definition map of the emotional brain.
And that leaves us with one final massive question. As we continue to map this incredibly intricate emotional architecture, what does it all mean for the future of mental health care? A deeper understanding of our own emotional wiring could literally revolutionize how we approach healing. It's a profound thought, and it's what makes this one of the most exciting frontiers in science today.